Today I'm going to discuss about the data processing, how we are processed the data after collection of data through various methods. Maybe primary, it may be secondary data, but data processing is separate and most important part in the marketing research. So in this chapter, we are going to complete introduction means about data processing, what are the steps, what are the importance of data processing, then how to edit data in data editing chapter, and in coding of data, classification of different kinds of data. Then after classification, how we will convert this data into tabular form, or we can say tabulation or graphical presentation of data. Then overall summary we will discuss at the end of this chapter. So at the end of this chapter, we will be able to understand how to appreciate the importance of data editing, designing and coding scheme of a given data, and classify the data according to attributes or numerical characteristics. And also, we will be able to present the data in the forms of tables and graphs. So, in introduction, I would like to say the data analysis is the next step after data collections, because data is the only things which will lead us to the conclusion, or which will help us to draw a valid decision, or we can be able to take any decision for our research project. So data analysis steps comes after the collection of data. So, but it is not so easy to say that the data collection after end of the data collection steps, we will immediately go to the data analysis, as because the adequate data, appropriate data is required for the data collection. So how we will convert the data into a appropriate form so that we will be able to analyze the data, that we will discuss in this chapter. So we can say that this data analysis process will start after the data collection process. So, however, there are several prerequisite tasks that must be finished before we can begin the data analysis. So, as I said, it will not be correct to say that after collection of data immediately we can analyze the data which we have collected. So, it means uh, my point is, after the collection of data, we have to prepare the data into such a form that we can able to analyze them. So the level of care taken during the data preparation steps determines the quality of the outcomes, and the result can be seriously impacted by incorrect data preparation, so which can result in biased conclusions and inaccurate interpretations. Therefore, ensuring that the data are accurate, complete, and suitable for further research is a crucial edge in the data processing process. So, editing, coding, classification, and tabulation of data to make it suitable for data analysis. So, from end of the collection of data to analysis of data, there are few steps to be obtained or to be followed. What are the steps? Now we have to edit the data which have been collected. We have to code in the data. Again, we need to classify the data, and then the classified data to be converted or to be placed in a tabular form. After then only we can go for the data analysis process. So these steps of data processing are discussed actually in this unit of data processing. So what we said, now what are the process? The first one is data editing. The editing of data is a process of examining the raw data to select and to detect errors and omissions and to correct them if possible, so as to ensure legibility, completeness, consistency, and accuracy. What is the meaning of this paragraph I told? Now, after the collection of data, sometimes we found that few data are collected in such a manner that they are not in a condition to fit in a table immediately or to coding them. Now, what is the first step? Now, we have to check, we have to detect whether there are some error, whether there are some responses which are not fitting to our scale. Suppose I have given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but respondent has filled number 6. As we know, in our scale, 6 is not a number in our scale. So, what we will do, such type of information we need to clear or we need to omit all these type kind of errors from the data. After these things or this process, we can ensure that my data is now legibility and my data is legible and complete, consistent, at the same time accurate for the data analysis. Then the recorded data must be legible so that it can be coded later. After doing these things, we can go for coding of data. What is the meaning of coding? Now, coding means we will give some number, some code against of the response. As because in the response or in the questionnaire form, a response in theoretical things is looks good. But while analyzing the same data, we cannot analyze a qualitative data or a response or a statement or a sentence. We cannot consider or we cannot analyze them. That is why what we have to do, now we will have to code these responses into some number, or we can say we have to give some number against of these things, then only we will be able to analyze them. So this process is known as coding. So it needs to ensure open-ended survey questions in particular are readable and clear to understand. Incorrect responses can be fixed by contacting the individuals who recorded them, or else they can be inferred from other aspects of the questions. So the questionnaire must have all its items properly completed in order to be considered complete. When a question is not answered, the interviewers may be contacted to determine whether the candidate did not answer the question or declined to do so. These things should be clearly mentioned by the interviewer. So, in the first scenario, it's possible that the interviewer won't recall the response. In this situation, the respondent might be contacted once again or alternatively. This specific piece of information might be considered to for further process. So it is crucial to verify whether the respondent is consistent in their responses to the questions. For example, a person who claims to use a credit card may not actually have one. What do I say? Now, a person who claims to use a credit card may not be actually have one. It means the responses which we collect from the respondent is consistent in their response or not. We need to verify it. And the survey data may not be accurate because of bias or dishonesty on the part of the interviewers. Sometimes it happens that as we are human beings, we have some prejudice and bias in our mind. There are different kind of bias, like for example, here I would like to cite one example on status. Suppose the interviewer who is or the investigator who is there to collect the information from the respondent is from a rich background, but as a servant of government or the employer has given a situation where the only few poor peoples are involved in that situations, then what the mindset of the investigator, he or she will think that I'm a rich person, I have no interest, I have no taste to come to that poor people and will collect the information. So I will not go to that place. So this is called bias or dishonesty. So what the interviewer or investigator will do in that situation? Now he will put those information which is actually not collected from the respondent, but it is filled by the investigator himself by giving any kind of information which is not actually correct. So this is coming under the dishonesty, or we can say the biasedness of the interview. So one method to recognize is to search for a recurring pattern of responses that reflect the interviewer's interviewing style. This will not only guarantee high quality data but also make data coding and tabulation easier. So in actuality, the editing process entails a close examinations of the completed surveys. So the researcher must conduct the editing process at two levels. The first of which is field editing and the second of which is central editing to verify that data screening and cleaning, which are essentially the needs of the editing process, have been completed. So there are many situations. If such kind of situations is occurring, we need to verify them. So for verifying this kind of data at the time of editing, there are two possibilities. One is what? The first possibility at the in the field only. When the person is collecting the data, at that time we have to edit by knowing the exact things or the situation. Second one is the central editing. After collection of all kind of data, we will go for an editing part. So in that also we are free to edit our data so that so that the process will be completed. So the first one of the editing process is field editing. So field investigators perform a crucial initial review of collected data to identify and correct errors like discrepancies, illegible writing, illegible writing, and complete responses. So this process known as field editing is essential because individual handwriting varies and the tabulars might struggle to understand the entries. So what we are doing in the field editing, now we will have to complete that process inside the field only by identifying and correct the errors. Otherwise, if we are not doing, what will happen or what is the consequences? Now the person who is entering the data will struggle with that handwriting and will struggle to understand the entries. So the investigators must not guess at missing information, but instead they should contact the original respondent for clarification if it is required, which is easier to do shortly after the initial interview. So some researchers are also randomly re-interviews respondents to validate the accuracy of the data collection process. So this quick review is vital for ensuring data quality and validity before it goes to further analysis. So, for a good investigator, it is the duty of the investigator that inside the field, we must check what responses we have collected. If there is something sought for or something is not filled, let us go for the collection of the same by re-interviewing the same respondent to validate whether it is accurate or not. As because why this is important, because we can very shortly complete that process as we are inside the field only. Now the second step is the central editing. The second central editing says that editing, commonly known as in-house editing, it's carried out by the researcher. If it is possible, we are completing the editing part in the field only. It is well and good. If it is not done, suppose it is done by only 2 to 3 researcher, 2 to 3 investigator, but another they have not done. So we cannot rely all the data So what we are doing after collection of total data, we are centrally editing the entire data. If something is there which is not corrected in the field editing process, we will edit them centrally by the researcher, or the researcher will edit them. So all forms must be meticulously edited by a single person, or we can say the editor only, for a small field research, or by a small group of individuals for a larger field study. So the editor may correct any obvious mistakes, including entries that are placed incorrectly or that are written in daily terms when they should have been in weeks or months, etc. For example, we can discuss it by this example how central edit is possible. Now, if a scale included 7 points, so I want to discover that someone had chosen a number higher than 7. As earlier I was discussing, suppose in my scale there are 5 scales. If somebody has placed 6 or 7 or 8 or any other numbers, so what I will do, I will have to, this correctness or these things is incorrect, it will definitely come to in my edge. So what I will do, we have to correct that. As 7 is not there, or 6 is not there, my number is right, then I need to check. Another scenario is when someone is asked, how many days do you have traveled outside of the city in a month? And the respondent given the responses like 35 days. So this is a situation how it is possible 35 days, as because a day contains 30 days only or 31 days. So 35 days is purely a wrong answer. By mistake it is written or something has happened. So these things need to be corrected immediately. So by evaluating the other data included in the schedule, the editor may occasionally be able to record improper or missing responses. If more clarification is required, the respondent may be contacted. It is necessary to remove from the schedules all of the obvious incorrect responses. The editing process requires the editor to be familiar with the guidelines and codes provided to the interviewers. And the editor should be the one to start the new entry or which one is corrected, which should be made in a distinctive manner. For future reference, the schedule should include the date of editing. So it was all about the editing, how the editing process is occurring in two process. One is field editing, which is very easy to sort by the investigator inside the field only by taking the re-interviews. And the second one is the central editing, which is occurring after end of the data collection by a editor, who the person who is well known to all the codes which is given in the questionnaire. Now, the second part is coding of the data. After collection of data, we first edited the data, or we can say we cleaned the data as per the requirement. Then, after cleaning the data, as we ensure that all the data in our format, in our scale, then we will move to the coding of the data. As we said, what is the code meaning of coding? The coding means we are giving some number, some numerical values to the responses so that we can able, these values can be analyzed easily. So this is called coding of the data. Coding is the process of assessing symbol or values. It may be values, it may be symbol, but always values are recommended as because it is helpful to analyze. Like numbers or letters or questionnaires responses, which simplifies the data classification and analysis. For effective analysis, these codes must be exhaustive and mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive and exhaustive means covering all possible responses and also not overlapping with each other. With each class representing a single concept, ideally, coding decisions are made during the questionnaire design phase, especially for close-ended questions, allowing for pre-coding that streamlines data tabulation and computer analysis. While coding for open-ended questions take more time, as because minimizing all coding errors is crucial for accurate research. For example, suppose what is your gender? So what will be the answer? The answer will be either male or female. So a male person or male respondent may be assigned a code 0, while a female respondent may be assigned a code of 1. So now coding is over for these questions. If somebody has chosen or ticked male, so what we will understand, now we will put 0 for that response. That 0 will make us understand that the person or respondent is a male person. Vice versa, if it is ticked by a female, that is, gender is a female. So, in our tabulation, in our coding table, we will assign 1 for the response so that analyze and the researcher will understand that person is a female. So these codes may be specified prior to the fieldwork, and and if the codes are written on all questions of a question, it's said to be willy, or it will be good for the respondent, that he will understand, and the person who is investigating it will also be helpful for him also. Then the third question, coming to the third question, what is your monthly income? So the respondent would provide his monthly income. How the respondent will provide? So here, these are the questions, sample questions, which is coming in the questionnaire. What we will do before asking the question, we must feed some intervals. What is I have mentioned here, that is less than 15,000, 15,000 to 19,999, then 20,000 to 24,999, then 25,000 or above. So I we have assigned this. Now this is the interval of income. So these are the possible income groups for whom I have set my questions. So when I'm asking this question to the respondent, that what is your monthly income, he or she will either tick any one of the options from the option bar. So this is the response. Then how I will code them? Now see, suppose I have given one for whom, now who is less than 15,000. So if my respondent has chosen less than 15,000, then what I will write in my table? I will write 1. Similarly, for second income group, that is 15,000 to 19,999, I have assigned 2. If somebody is using this group, then I will write 2 for him. That 2 is recognized by the investigator and the researcher that persons are coming under the group of 15,000 to 20,000, or you can say 19,999. So these 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever I am writing the number against that group is known as the coding or code for that group, which I am doing that. Then open-ended questions are more challenging. These two questions I had discussed, that is the gender, that is the income group, is not coming under the open-ended questions, as because it is a close-ended questions, as because only specific groups and answers are there. But but open-ended questions are something different to that. When there is a question to be explained by the in respondent, or few lines to be collected from the respondent, such kind of questions are known as open-ended questions. So the research the respondents here is free to explain the question or the situations. So this kind of question, if it is there, then coding of this question is too challenging. The researcher may select at random 80 to 90 answers to a question and list them. So in that case, what we will do, now we have to list out the possible few answers for them. Then the coding techniques are categorized, data are stated above, is utilized after deciding which category are appropriate to employ to summarize the data after looking at the list. So what we will do now, a word of caution, that is, when recategorizing the data, we should give space for any other like in order to accommodate responses that might not fit into our predetermined categories. If few things are not appropriate or not fitting to our list of responses what we have given, then there must be other option, like another person can use that. The requirement that the response categories be mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive may be kept in mind. It means what the responses is giving answer or the responses I am receiving, that should be all possible and should not be overlapping. And a study on consumer awareness and purchase intention for organic food products was undertaken by Poonam Porwal and Rajiv K. Shukla with the following objectives. What was the objective? Now, to access the level of consumer awareness of organic products. Second objective was to identify factors that influences consumers' intentions to purchase organic products. And the third objective was to know how consumer demographic affects their purchase intention for organic products. With these three objectives, the study has been started. So the questionnaire was designed to achieve the objectives, the above three objectives. A sample of sample of the questionnaire is provided below. Let us understand what is the question. This set of questions is coming under demographic profile of a respondent. The first question was age, like in years. What I have mentioned here, I have categorized them below 18, 18 to 25, 26 to 35, 36 to 45 or above 45. So it is known as close-ended questions. Similarly for gender, for marital status, married, unmarried, like this. Education, undergraduate, graduate, postgraduate and others. Monthly income, below 20,000, 20,001 to 40,000 and above 40,000. Similarly, the sixth one is occupation, whether he or she is a student, serviceman, businessman or housewife and others. So these questions are the basic questions which should be placed in the first paragraph or first in each starting of the question, because from that only we understand whether the respondent is eligible or the right person to answer or not. So this is called, these questions actually called demographic profile of the respondent. We can see here, based on your understanding about organic food products, rate the following statements on 5-point Likert scale. What is 5-point Likert scale? Now there are 5 numbers are there. So number 1 says the person is strongly agree. Whatever question is there, if I am strongly agree, then I will mention it is 1. If this person is saying strongly disagree, then cannot say disagree, agree, strongly agree. So these are the different answers or responses, or you can say different feelings about the product of a respondent. So what we have done in the questions itself only, we will declare all the points what we are meaning to these numbers. Then in front of them we will place our question as it is here in the right hand side of the slide. That statements are here and 5 to 1 I had written. Suppose the first question is organic products have more freshness. Suppose I am saying I am totally disagree with that. Then what I will do? Now I will put a tick under 1. So where the number 1 is there, I will place a tick. So the researcher will understand the person whose name is that, whose age group, who is coming under this age group, which I have already given in the first information. This occupation is that his opinion is he is totally strongly disagree with organic products are more freshness. It means that simply. a very long line, but in a single number, I understood or the researcher will understood. That is why we are mentioning or we are coding them. Similarly, organic products have superior quality. If somebody is highly agree with that, strongly agree, then he will put 5 here because I'm agree or the another respondent is there who is totally agree with that the organic product have superior quality. Organic foods are natural fruit products. Organic product is tastier. Organic products are affordable. So these are the points what I have mentioned is actually my objective. So these objective I placed for the respondent, and I placed the place where the respondent will tick easily, can easily write or choose the answer. What is his feeling? So it is called coding of the data. Question 1 is divided into 6 parts as I discussed, indicates age of the respondent. Her age has been in the categorized form, so its respondent has the age below 18, the respondent is coded 1. As all these things we had discussed here, how the code is there and how it will helpful for the respondent as well as the researcher and the analyzer. So, as we know, here male respondents are coded as 1, whereas female is 0. Respondent are coded as 2 here. And question 1C indicates the marital status of the respondent. Here the unmarried respondent are coded as 1, whereas married respondent coded as 2. In question 1D, there is concerned the educational qualification of the respondent. Here undergraduates response are coded as 1, graduates are coded 2, and postgraduates as 3, and likewise. Similarly, the income group. See here some attributes I have placed for the organic product are mentioned in the question number 2, and the respondent is assigned a job for rating each of them on a scale of 1 to 5. So you can see here how it looks like. So here no questions are there, no responses are there, but if we are looking this table in the eyes of an analyzer or a investigator or a researcher, every responses are there. But how it is? Now it is in the form of a code. A analyzer or coding editor can understand what is written there. Many long sentences are there, but actually it looks like a number only, because this number represents a line or the number represents the respondent response given by the respondent. So total of 162 responses were received for the study. However, sample format of 20 responses I had given here. Age is there, gender is there, marital status is there, education status is there, income group is there, occupation is there, then quality, test quality, whatever different questions I have placed, also these numbers I had mentioned, this is given in the table. This was all about editing, and after that coding. Coding means we are giving some number. Now coming to the classification of data. The third step is after coding, we will go for the classification of data. In most research studies, voluminous raw data collected through a survey needs to be reduced into homogeneous groups for any meaningful analysis. So this necessitates the classification of data, which in some simple terms in the process of arranging data in groups or classes on the basis of some characteristics. So classification contains the data, allows for comparisons, aids in the study of relationship, and aids in the statistical treatment of data. So the classification should be unambiguous, mutually exclusive, and collectively exhaustive in nature. Furthermore, it should not be very flexible only, but also appropriate for the purpose of which it is sought. So classification can be done using attributes or numerical characteristics. The first classification according to attributes is to classify the data according to attributes. We use descriptive characteristics like sex, caste, education, and user of the product. And the descriptive characteristics are one of that cannot be measured qualitatively. One can only talk in terms of its presence or absence. So the classification according to attributes may be of two types. One is simple classification. So where we are dividing into two class of classes and only one attribute is studied, such as whether the person is a product user or not, married or unmarried, employed or unemployed, and so on. This is called simple classification. The second one is known as manifold classification. So what we are doing in this case, in manifold classification, more than one attribute is considered. For example, the respondent in a survey may be classified as a user of a particular product or brand and non-user of that brand of product. So it may be user, it may be not user. But both user and non-user can be further classified into males and females. Furthermore, males and females can be divided into two groups, those under the age of 25 and those aged 25 and up. So we can further classify them as professionals or non-professionals. So this way, one can keep on adding more attributes. This is shown in the 6.1, which is I have already been discussed. So the basic objective of such classification have to clearly spelled out. Second is classification according to numerical characteristics. It was classification according to attributes. There are two, one is simple and second one is manifold classification. But in classification according to numerical characteristics, when the observations possesses numerical characteristics such as sales, profits, heights, weights, income, marks, they are classified according to class intervals. Because recording of too large data is not possible and also it not looks good and very not easy to understand. That is why what we are doing now, we are dividing the large scale of data into some intervals. For example, persons whose monthly income is between 12,000 to 15,000 may from one group. Those whose income is between rupees 25,000 to 30,000 may have from another group, and so on. So in this manner, the entire data set is now divided into number of groups or classes, which are usually called class intervals. So what I said now, instead of keeping all the large set at a place, it is not looks good. Neither it is looks good, nor it is understandable. So what we will do, we will divide these groups into some class intervals. So then the number of item of each class is called the frequency of the class. So every class has two limits. One is upper limit and lower limit, which are known as the class limits. And the difference of these class limits is called the magnitude of the class, means how many numbers are there inside the class. Suppose I am doing 0 to 5 or 5 to 10. So it means the 5 in 0 to 5 class interval, 5 is my upper limit, whereas 0 is my lower limit. But what is the class width? 5 minus 0 means 5. So it means in 0 to 5 limit or class interval, there are 5 items present. And the class intervals may be performed by using the inclusive and exclusive method. So assume we have class intervals like 10 to 15, as I discussed, 16 to 21, 22 to 27, and so on. Such class interval is an example of inclusive, means there are two class interval, as I said earlier, that inclusive or exclusive. Inclusive says the upper limit is included in that particular class and lower limit, but just like this example 10 to 15, and the next class interval is 16 to 21. It means 15 is there in the first class, not in the second. It is clearly looks also, the second class is starting from 16 and ending at 21. This is called inclusive class interval. But if I will say the second interval like 10 to 15, 15 to 20. So in the first interval 15 is here, in the second interval lower limit also 15 is there. So it means 15 is not included in the first class interval, but it is included in the second class interval. So it is called exclusive class interval. The definition is where the upper limit of the same class is excluded from the same class is known as, this class is known as exclusive class interval, whereas the upper limit is included in the class is known as the inclusive class interval. So in the exclusive class interval, since the lower limit is included whereas the upper limit is excluded from the class interval, if the variable x falls within the first class interval, its value would be either 10, that is x less than will be 15. As because 15 is written, it is not there. So you can see the example over here. The following data refers to the sales of a company for the past 40 quarters. So tabulate the data using the inclusive method. So what do we have to do? Now first we have to identify what is the lowest number, then what is the highest number. Then the formula is there. We have to find out by using that. We'll find out what is the class width. With that class width, we can prepare our class intervals for the tabulator for the given data. So here I have given one answer solution for these questions. There's inclusive class interval for the sense that the variable x could take any values between lower and upper limits in such a way that both ends of the interval could be covered by this. You can see here. So what are the class interval? As I said, 750 to 1120, then 1121 to 1491. What it shows? Whether it is an inclusive class or exclusive class. Now we can see here, what is the upper limit of the first class? Now it is 1120. Is that 1120 is appearing in the second class lower limit of the second class? No. The lower limit of the second class interval is different. It is the next number. So it means in the first class 750 is there as well as 1120 is also there. So what is the width? Just take the difference. What is the number it is? It is. So this number of numbers are there inside the interval. So it is called a inclusive class as because the upper limit of the class is included, both lower and upper limit. And we can see here the frequency says 6. For that 6, what is the tally mark? Actually first tally mark will be conducted, then by counting this tally bar we will write what is the frequency. So what is the tally bar? Now 5, 4 straight line and 1 is a diagonal line, says it is 5. Then another one is 5. Another one is adding with that 5, it is 6. So in first interval we have 6 free respondents, second 9, the third interval we have 6 again, fourth interval 13 again, then fifth one is 6. Then 6.5 for fifth content says tabulation or graphical presentation of the data. So after converting the data into the table, we have to either present or we will go for the analysis of the data. It may be statistical formulation, it may be graphical presentation also. So table and graphs can be used to present the data that has been collected. And data in tabular form is classified according to time or on any other variable. And graphs or charts are used as a visual form of data presentation. So the data tabulation is used to summarization and condensation of data, or we can say we condensing the data. It aids in the analysis of relationships, trends, and other summarization of the given data. For example, these are the important characteristics of the table. While preparing the table, we must know what are the different portion or sections of the table. One is every table should have a clear and concise title to make it. So, as a person, as a project, there is a name. Similarly, while preparing a table, we must give some name, a title of the table, so that a person, while reading the table or understanding the table, from the title he or she will understand whether it is required for me or not, whether what is the table content it is. The title will justify. The first is we have to give a clear and concise title, not a 2 to 3 lines. It is a very concise one. understandable without reference to the text. This title should always be just above the body of the table. So we can say first is title, then the table will come. Second is every table should be given a distinct number of facilitate easy reference. So from where we have prepared that table, we have to give the reference. Then the third one is every table should have caption, means column heading. Suppose as we know, table contains a few rows and columns. So, what is the meaning of this column? Why this column stands for? For whom it is designed? All these things is mentioned on the top of the column. Similarly, in the row. So, every table should have a caption and stubs. So, row heading is known as stubs, whereas column headings is known as captions. This should be clear and brief. Then the fourth one is the units of measurement used must always be indicated. Then explanatory footnotes, if any concerning the table, should be given beneath the table along with reference symbol. So explanatory footnotes. Footnotes says it is coming at the end of the table. When table completes, like title, at the end of the table we have to mention it footnotes, that whether I have collected that table from any sources or any references is there, that I need to write at the end of the table, or we can say at the footnote. This is called footnote. Then the columns in the tables may be numbered to facilitate reference, and the abbreviations should be used to minimum possible extent. So if my table of content is considering any kind of abbreviation, the researchers should keep in mind that the table will contain minimum abbreviation if possible. And the table should be logical, clear, accurate, and as simple as possible. It should be also in my mind that, in the researcher mind, that what is I am preparing to keep in the mind, in the table, that should be very logical, clear, accurate, and also very simple as possible. And the next point is about the table. The arrangement of the data categories in a table may be chronological, geographical, alphabetical, or according to magnitude of facilitate comparisons. Finally, at the end, the table must suit the needs and requirements of the research study. Here we can say age table is given. What is the title of the table? Age. When somebody will read the age, he or she will understand this table is talking about the age of the respondents, from where we have collected the data, or those who are given the data. What are the age categories? Who are the persons who aged, that is given in the table? So we can see here everything is there. The row stocks are there below 18 years, 18 to 25 years, 26 to 35 years, 36 to 45 years, then more than 45 years. These are the row stocks. Then column captions are frequencies, percentage, valid percent, then cumulative percent, means frequency. We can clearly see here below 18 years, the frequency against of this term is 14. It says 14 people are there, those are coming under the age group below 18 years. And then 87. 87 means 87 persons are there, those are coming under 18 to 25. Maybe it may be 18, 15, 16, 18, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23, who are maybe the number, it may happen also few numbers are repeated, but the total number of person in that group or in my population, it is 87 only. Then 26 to 35 years, persons are 29, 36 to 45 persons are 19, then more than 45 it is 13. So what is the total number of population here? By taking together, I am adding, it is 162. It means in my population, from where I have collected the data, there are 162 persons were present. Then what I have done, Now I have in percent, the third column, that is percent, I converted these figures into some percentage, like 14 divided by 162 into 100, so it becomes 8.6. Similarly, 53.7, 29, 19%, 13%, 162%. The same percent I have validity, we have checked valid percent and then cumulative percent. What is the cumulative percent? Now first cumulative percent will be same as the percent, valid percent. Then second cumulative percent will come like 62.3 came after adding 8.6 with 53.7. The same way, adding 3 valid frequency, I will get the third cumulative percent of the third row. The same way, but the percentage at the end of the row will be 100%. So after calculation of this table, we have converted this table into a pie chart. What we have done here, no doubt, a table is very good, understandable, easy to understand, everything is there. But when I am conducting this pie chart with the different colors I had given for the different age groups, it looks more beautiful, and a layman can easily understand what is there in the pie chart. It is called graphical presentation, where the right left hand side is known as the tabular form of the data. Similar way, gender. So I have categorized male and female. So in frequency, I can say I have 79 male respondent, whereas 83 female respondent. The male percentage is 48.8 and female percentage is 51.2. The altogether percentage is 100%. And the percentage of gender I have posted here, I have given male blue color for male and female red color. That is the presentation of graphical presentation of gender. Then marital status, if I will say, is the same category, married, unmarried. So I have unmarried, 108 persons are there who are unmarried, and that percentage is 66.7, whereas 33.3 percentage is for married. The number is 54. So I have calculated or the percentage, cumulative percentage, as well as the graphical presentation of the education. I have given red color for married, which is very less than the unmarried portion. It is blue color. And I will come to the education, as we are discussing the demographic response of the respondent. The education category, we can see the frequency of undergraduate group is 35 only. Means 35 persons are there from the respondent who are undergraduate. And graduate, it is 52 number. Postgraduate respondents were 63 in number, whereas other persons are 12, which are not coming under undergraduate, graduate and postgraduate. It may be below undergraduate, or it may be higher studies they have done from, or higher than the postgraduate. So these numbers is 12. So altogether it is 162. It is okay, as because every total number is matching with all the demographic factor of our data collection. And the percentage is 21.6 for undergraduate, and for graduate it is 32.1, and for postgraduate it is 38.9, and for others it is 7.4 only. So total percentage is 100%. So what I have done here, to make it more eye-catching, I have taken the help of bar diagrams. Here I had given four bars for the education, different kind of education, as because I have four categories, that is undergraduate, graduate, postgraduate, and others, that is shown here. So in the bar also different kind of bar diagram is there. Few bar diagram directly contain the percentage also will be mentioned clearly, so that it will be more easier to understand from the bar. Now coming to the income group, we can see here the frequency of below 20,000 earning respondent, it is 86 only, and the person who are coming under 20,000 to 40,000, it is 60 persons are there only in my responses, and more than 40,000 earned persons are 16 only. So highest categories are the below people, those are earning less than 20,000 only, and then the second category is that 20,000 to 40,000. But I have done the same way, I have converted them into some percentage. Then I came for the plotting this data into a graph. That is in bar diagram also same. We can see here the first bar is telling about the income group who are less than 20,000. Then the middle one is the 20,000 to 40,000, and the third one is greater than 20,000. Now coming to the occupation, we can say we have divided into few categories like student, service, businessman, or housewife, and others. So here we can see 66 respondents are students, and 48 responses are service holder. It may be private or government, that I had not mentioned. So it is coming under service only. In under business category, only 34 percentage. Only one person is there who is a housewife in nature of occupation, and others are 13. It means these 13s are different from student, service, business, and housewife. So altogether the total person is 162. So what I have done, the same process, I have converted these figures, frequencies, into percentage. How 66 is, what is the percentage of 66 in 162? That is 40.7. Then 29.6, 21%, 6%, and 8%, altogether is 100%. Then I have calculated the cumulative percentage, which is easier to understand. Then more easier part is the graphical presentation of this same data. So I have used different bars for different categories of occupation, and we have taken the same color, that student, service, business, housewife, and others. So it was all about the data coding processing. In the under the data processing, we had discussed three things. We said that is editing, coding, and classification. We all discussed. So we have also discussed various aspects of data processing, including that editing, coding, classification, and the presenting of the data in table and graphs. There are two types of editing. One is central editing and field editing. As we discussed, the central editing says central editing occurs at the final collection of data collection, but where the field editing occurs in the field, while the data collection process is continuing. So coding is the process which is coming after the data editing, assigning specific symbols, numbers, or both to the responses to the questions in the questionnaire, so that the responses can be recorded in a finite number of classes or categories. Then this facilitates data analysis, and the design of coding scheme has been discussed with the help of a sample questionnaire. Classification is the process of arranging data into groups or classes on the basis of certain characteristics. It involves the condensation of data, which facilitates comparison and helps in establishing relationships between variables. Classification can be based on attributes or numerical characteristics. The former can be classified as a sample or a manifold classification, and the latter is achieved using either inclusive or exclusive method, which is mostly required in the data collection by using the statistical tools and techniques, or we can say like calculation of averages, medians, modes, or any correlations among the variables. So these are mostly required. So in the latter chapters, we will discuss how inclusive and exclusive figures and class intervals is required as per the calculation of the different statistical tools that we will discuss in our latter chapter. For this, all about the processing of data or we can say the different steps of the data processing, they like editing, coding, classification, and presentation of data by different forms like tabular form and graphs. Thank you for this class.